front line of sharing his knowledge, right? Deepak is right now more busy than ever before during COVID. And like even us at Never Alone, obviously he's our partner in it, but we're all, we're not technically on the front line in the clinics on that level, with the front care workers,
Hmm.
but we're behind the scenes of that. And I mean, we've been creating so much content to give for you for free. And what I'm saying is that Deepak's like obviously focusing on meditation, focused awareness,
Right.
focusing on their strengths, focusing on self-care, the mental hygiene tools that we
Right.
need for self-care. Yes, if something's a trigger, don't do it. Don't watch the news. Turn it off. Self-care.
Right.
Start there,
Hmm.
stop scrolling on the phones. It's a lot of mind pollution. It's
Yeah.
pollution unless you tune into Joe Flanigan, of course.
Yeah.
But
Don't do that. But here's what I find particularly difficult. I was saying this is the only thing simultaneously that's ever happened to mankind, ever.
yeah, ever.
We've never had a simultaneous experience.
In the
Um,
modern world, in the modern age,
no,
meaning with
I don't
technology.
think we've ever had a mutual, simultaneous, synchronous experience ever. I mean, and that includes other pandemics and wars because they don't really reach every part of the globe.
Yeah.
Um, And so, barring a natural disaster like a comet hitting the Earth, we don't really experience one thing together. And
Yes.
so, this is, in some ways, fascinating because it makes us realize we're all basically passengers on this spinning boat through space. And you
Yes.
would think it would kind of clarify things and be like, God, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And yet, invariably, all these divisions start occurring.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to me.
Well, because it's also we're going back into the principle of flight, you know, we're going into that, fight or flight mode. So who is the fittest who's going to survive? Who is the fittest who's going to survive the COVID virus anyway? Because,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Well,
So that's that. And then who is going to have the most resources to survive the outcome of this virus on our economic?
and that actually leads me to something interesting because I've been talking about this, and it disturbs me greatly because the truth is the bigger, stronger, wealthier are going to emerge bigger, stronger, and wealthier,
Of
and so
course.
it's going to exacerbate pre-existing fault lines before, like pre-quarantine fault lines,
Mm.
and so I think we're going to emerge from this in a more vulnerable situation where there's going to be a demand for change. There's just going to be a demand for change, and some people will like that, some people won't. But I think you have to start. We're gonna have to start creating a system that benefits the greatest number for the greatest people,
Yeah.
which is not the case right now.
No, it's
It
not.
is just not the case. I
Yeah.
mean, I always, me, I always bring things back to politics, and I try
No,
not to.
but you know what? You're right. And you've been my guide on politics in this country because I'm not American and I'm learning a lot. And been stuck here for 8 months. I normally travel, every 2 weeks for work in Asia, actually. And quarantine ensues. And here I am doing, working on mental health and for my own sanity,
Right,
for my own sanity.
right.
What am I to do? During quarantine, it's like you take the high road. So I mean, at least for me, it's like, how can I be of service? Because I have certain things that I want to share, you know. And I think if everyone is able to come from a place where, okay, what is one of my best things that I can give and I can share with people to enhance their lives daily? And it can just start with one thing. It doesn't need to be a big idea. It can just be a very simple, like being of service, checking on your neighbor, carrying the groceries up, just calling, sending appreciation. We've been creating a thing with Deepak where we're talking about the 4 A's to
Yeah,
create love in action. How can we embody, all of us, love in action? Meaning the love that we truly all aspire to if we were to think it's a foreign concept, but how do we embody it in our body so that we become, first of all, joyful, you know, as human
right.
beings by ourselves, but we also have energy and the lust for life. We also have a reflective, mind, and we're self-inquiring.
Right.
And we're also, just wanting to be fully grounded in our our mission as a human on this earth, like you said, that's spinning through space at thousands
Right.
of miles of an hour. So, we all need a sense of relevance. So
Right.
what we've been saying is that this sense of relevance can start with just simple, like, let's appreciate. Let's have affection for each other. Let's accept one and not want to change people. And it's very difficult today in the world that we live
Ooh,
in.
good point.
It's very difficult because we think that we know a treasure. We might not know, and
Well, we talked about that yesterday, and how certainty is one of the biggest traps we all get into.
yeah,
And but
exactly.
you say a good point, and I hope doesn't seem like a tangent, but when I was getting divorced, and I told everybody it was difficult, we had somebody that helped us work out a schedule, and she I would have you'd have to see her individually as well as together, and she asked me when I was individually with her how the kids, and I said they're fine. I mean, they complain a lot. What do they complain about? She said. I said, well, they complain that they go from one nice house to another nice house in Malibu. And she said, well, what do you say? I say, oh, my poor spoiled little white kids are going from one nice house to another. Like, shut up, get on with it. And she said, no, don't do that.
Mm,
She said, what they're saying is they're frustrated. They're
yeah,
frustrated that you're not married anymore. You're frustrated you're not in the same house. They just want you to acknowledge their frustration. All you want to do is say, I understand your frustration.
yeah,
And that may be common sense to most people. It wasn't to me, because I always thought I was needing to steer them
yeah.
into the right headspace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the wrong approach. And I was like, wow, I just have to let them be and
Mm,
acknowledge their situation, not try to change it, and let it just be. And it changed everything, the way I parent.
yeah,
And it was, to me, really profound. And I think all of us secretly try to change people.
yeah.
And so it's an obvious it's a very it's tempting to kind of want to make
It's
changes in people, and instead of just acknowledge their situation, because I think most people will make the changes on their own.
Yeah, and I think ultimately we never change because of someone telling us to do. We
Yeah.
change, and it's not even the word change. We transform because of inspiration. So who and what situation and what current awareness is transforming myself into a new being? That's really the question, you
Yeah.
know. It's an inner transformation that you walk out that door,
Yeah.
out of any, when I say door, out of any trapped circumstance that we have our minds in, and you're like, wow, I am out of this, and I am like not going to be in there again, you know. And this
This
is
is
what,
interesting, and you and I have talked about this. In addition to, like, meditating and changing things, like on a cellular level,
yes,
do you not become an entirely new cellular being every 7 years?
we do. We
Right.
do it
So
effectively.
could
Yes.
you conceivably just be an entirely different person if your
Yes.
intentions are strong enough within a course of years?
Okay, yes, this is actually one of my favorite subjects. So technically, I mean, and it can open up a whole, series of conversations with Joe.
Yeah.
But recently conversations with Deepak, it's very interesting. He's been all about reverse aging, but reversing our biology. So we're reversing our biology. So, but how do we do that? In the sense that on a cellular structure, you say effectively every 7 years, our body is completely a new sense of self. But what is holding us back? This is what we need to understand what's holding us back. And I love this because you're
Right.
an actor, I'm an actor. It's the story that we've created of ourselves. The story. We've remembered the story that who we were is real.
Yeah.
But it's only our memory that brings that memory into reality. So we start believing that this is the Gabriella of when she was 21,
Right.
or when she divorced,
Right.
or when she was going through
Right.
hardship, you know,
Right.
or all the drama that she had on
Yeah.
set with all the Me Too people, you know, like whatever. And generally, we always like going to the negative first, because the positives are just fleeting moments in existence that we can't even define, because it's in a moment of awe. We're in awe. But the moments that we can define is often through pain. So we like holding on to those memories.
So this to me is fascinating. So, because like basically, if you don't sublimate your experiences and you
Yes.
don't process the experience and try to find meaning in your experience, you're never going to get from point A to point B. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other night, and we were talking about this, and we said it's interesting that a lot of successful people that we look up to have a really strong narrative about who they are, where they came from, where they're
Yes.
going.
Yes.
And it's interesting because when I started doing political consulting after 2016, and one of the things I worked on with candidates was their narrative. And I said, listen, a lot of people aren't going to remember your policy positions, but they will remember your story.
Yes.
Work on your story. And I gave them journals and I made them write. A lot of them hadn't reflected on it. And that's what's interesting. So if you're not reflecting on what you've been through, you're kind of not doing the work of life, right? Like
I
that's the work of
agree.
life.
I agree. But
Right.
then the key here, which I love, is that you have a story. But isn't it nice to watch your story, to experience your story,
Right.
but to also liberate from the story and be able to walk off the stage and say, that's great. I had that amazing experience. Fucking awesome. Very entertaining in all ways,
Right.
highs and lows. I was like, wow, that was a
Right.
pure cathartic moment.
That's
But like,
powerful.
it's powerful. It's
Yeah.
moved the audience. It's moved my family
Yeah.
into transformation.
Yeah.
It's moved people I know. Now let's recreate a new one, because
Yeah,
we're
that's
always going to have
interesting.
stories. We
Yeah.
always will be. But let's see how we have the power and the insight to write something, direct something, put the right lighting, however lighting you want,
Yeah.
you know, be in the audience at the same time as experiencing the motion of the story. And that's
Yeah.
powerful.
I know. And that's interesting. And sometimes I have this kind of debate with people. I know you and I have debated this. And some people think things happen for a meaning. I don't think that. I think
Mm-hmm.
things happen, and our job is to find meaning in what happens. And I say, for example, if things happen for a meaning, then you would have to explain why so many people have gone through such horrible things like the Holocaust,
Yes.
what the meaning was. And I prefer to say there is no meaning for that. That did not happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that life has this random, complex, sometimes very painful quality to it. And in Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, he talks about the people that were able to sublimate the pain and the suffering into some sort of meaning.
Yes.
And quite literally, those are the people who lived. Some
Mm-hmm.
people would say the Allies are coming, they're going to free us in
Yes.
at Christmas time, and then they wouldn't come, and then early January, those people would die.
Yeah.
Then there were other people that were able to somehow get into the process of finding meaning in adversity and suffering. And those
Yes.
people kind of lived. And
Yes.
to me, that coming from those guys who suffered on just the most hellish scale, it there has to be some power there, and that is self narratives,
It is.
right? I
It
mean, they're
is.
all the same thing. They're self narratives.
It's self-narrative, and it's also, you know, I almost want to say that there's a beauty in living a moment, you know, fully. And I think, you know, when you're in extreme situations, unfortunately, you have to be so present to that moment. And you don't know it's extreme until you're past it. So what it is that it pulls you into the power of presence, not present moment, but presence. And when you're in presence, you start discovering the extraordinary expansion and human being that you are.
Right.
And it's like beyond. And that's why, you know, we look up to, you know, great authors and people in the past, because they experienced their presence at a moment in time where they were not able to look in the mirror, they were just themselves, and they
Yeah.
expanded that awareness, and that awareness is now,
Right. See,
you
I
know,
love this. There's so much connectivity of all these issues like that we brought up in the past, week. And one is that man has the theory I postulated was that one of the reasons that man dominates Earth is his capacity to think ahead,
yes,
not just I'm going to collect nuts for the winter. I'm going to collect nuts for the next 10 winters.
yes,
Therefore, then I will have time to do the other things. And our capacity to think that far ahead
mm,
is what gives us power. And at the same time, it's overdeveloped hypothetical skill set that
yes,
actually keeps us from being in the present. And my argument was animals are way more present on just the basic sensory level. Their smells,
mhm,
sights, sounds. I mean, they're deeply aware. We don't have hunting people. We have hunting dogs. We have hunting dogs because they're aware of all the things that we're not aware of. And
yes,
and I just kind of wonder if that it almost seems like an evolutionary mistake.
mhm,
It's like almost seems like it it almost have to like wind it back so that you're not this guy just thinking so far ahead and that you get back into now.
It's a very good point, because I think we are one of the unique species on Earth, who have this capacity of imagining a future that has never happened, yet. And so we're into this provision, like you say. And if we were to take that imagery and put it into, what's going on today, it's very interesting, because we could not foresee this COVID-19, or could we? Or could we, on a level, on a biology structure, in how we're treating and how we're interacting with,
It
our
was
environment?
mathematically inevitable
Exactly.
that it was going to happen, just
Yes.
as an earthquake or anything else.
I-
When, we don't know, but it was
When
going to happen.
it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So what I mean to say is that I think humans have a great capacity to recreating the future right now. And I think that if we do it as mindful and as present to our greatness, then we can really transform a global mind shift. A
Right.
global mind shift, not an individual mind shift, a global mind shift. And that comes from really knowing who we are. Self inquiry, critical thinking is number one here. But then what goes after self inquiry is self attention and love. Now, love can be totally overrated. We can say it's a new age term, but it's actually not. It's something that connects us
Right.
all with a sense of deep, deep appreciation, you know.
Yeah.
And I think if I start appreciating strangers, and if we all do that in that way, we might be able to reinstill presence, so that we can share the presence in a way where we can rebuild the collective crisis that we're in right now.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
trying to
I
just
think
bring it
to me,
here,
it's fascinating and it's interesting because I don't know all the people listening out there, but and she knows me, I can be a little bit of a pain in the ass and a skeptic about a lot of things. And one thing that has kept me from a lot of spiritual work is I see people um, tempted toward magical thinking, is what I call magical thinking. And I think that's an important distinction because there's a lot of people that are exploring a lot of these things, but they believe that, there's this magical quality, you simply manifest your reality and all this stuff. And I'm just not sure it's that easy. And I actually, like, I want to keep my feet on the ground while I
yeah.
explore these things. But I don't think they're separate. I think all the
I
things you're
agree.
talking about are grounded.
Yes, they are.
And it's important not to use it as escapism.
Exactly.
Like, oh God meant this to happen, and blah 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 blah. Well, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Doesn't matter. It's happening. I'm dealing with it. So it's been a little bit of a pet peeve because I live in Malibu, as you know, and there's a
I
lot of
know.
people out there that are prone to super magical thinking, and
Yeah, there's a lot of
so
that.
I know. So and yet some of the most grounded people in the world are the most spiritual. So, anyway, it is getting close to the time where I might have to start signing off because I have to get on the phone in a little while with another human being in Los Angeles. But first of all, let everybody know once again, you go to
Never alone.
neveralone.love.
.love. Yes, neveralone.love. And just follow our work, and join and send whatever. Just use Peewee and just use all the resources that we put together.
Right.
There's a lot, so really just dive into it. And we're active, so we're constantly building tools on our, and we communicate it on our social channels as well. Neveralone.love, Chopra Foundation. So there you go.
And let me just ask on a super personal level, how's Michael?
He's good.
She
He's
has a
going.
beautiful, wonderful son that goes to school with my beautiful, wonderful son. And they're very similar in a lot of ways. But
They are.
he went to France
Yes.
to visit his father, and now it's very hard to come back and forth. So she's been away from him for a long time.
Yeah, but he's coming back on Sunday.
Oh, he is.
Yes, I'm so happy.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So is he? The time, the online schooling is really hard on that time frame,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, super, super hard. And thank
Oof.
God the U.S. Embassy was, on our side. So they authorized him and he's coming back on Sunday. So happy.
Wunderbar.
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's good news for
Yes.
you. I can see that you're
Yes.
happy about
I
that.
am. I am.
All
Extremely.
right, Gabriella.
Okay.
Thank
It
you so
was so
much.
good. Thank
You're
you
going to
for
be back
having me.
on. I'm going to, you know me, the podcast I've been formulating. You're going to
I
be on it.
know.
We're going
You're
to get you
great.
back on it. And you and Punacha.
Oh, yeah. Punach is going to love you. I can't wait for you guys.
Perfect.
And
All right.
Deepak eventually.
And maybe Deepak. All right. I'll see you later, sweetie. Take
Take
care.
care, love. Bye, darling. Bye.
So she's interesting. Like, there's few people that I know that are deep in those kind of things that don't somehow remove me with their language. Sometimes their language is so cryptic and uber spiritual that I actually don't relate to it. And I think one thing that everybody knows about me is I'm a little bit terrestrial. It's ironic that I became kind of a figure of the other world, the space world, when I'm so grounded to earth. Maybe too grounded. Some people would argue that I am a little bit too grounded at times. But anyways, it's kind of fascinating when you start talking about these things, because the truth is everything loops back to these similar concepts that we keep talking about. And whether that's being alone, whether that's like a collective unconscious, that's what she's talking about. And I talked about that yesterday with those magnometers that are like, that work on this random algorithm of zeros and ones that never are in the same pattern. Suddenly they're kind of moving in the same pattern, interestingly enough. So all those things to me are really interesting. And then weirdly enough, I brought that article up about, well, let's see, it was about synchrony, about people doing things together in unison, whether it's dancing, marching, singing, what have you. Those are things that make people feel better. So when they studied longevity and they tried to find people that lived the longest in the world, there were some little pockets, these little, well, they're not hot spots, but basically they're spots of increased longevity. One of them was in Italy in this little town, and it was basically they ate a pretty healthy Mediterranean diet. But one of the components, it's hard to measure, but this was a component in every single area of greater longevity. One, ironically, is in Loma Linda, California, where they have a particular religious sect of, it's like a Lutheran sect. I can't remember precisely what it is, and I should know. Loma Linda Hospital, all those people. Anyways, it is community, actual network of support. People who say hi to you, people who do things with you, people who check in on you. You check in on them. it is a weird, simple reciprocity that actually is enjoyable and essential. I mean, it kind of does add years onto your life. So that's why I also think what we're going through is kind of difficult, because this pandemic is telling us to stay away from each other. So it's important to realize that it just goes against our basic nature. Seventh-day Adventist, thank you, Susan Clark. Seventh-day Adventist is who they are. She's a genius. She knows everything. And she sends me these questions that are, my God, it's all this trivia, and I usually don't know any of it. But nonetheless, okay. So, you know what? We haven't had a guest on today other than Gabriella, so why don't we just throw it out there? And by the way, I said we were going to go around the world, right? We're going to go on a trip right now around the world. And I said I'd go to Russia. So, somebody who's from Russia, give me a little flash, like a smoke signal or something, that you're from Russia. And I'm going to tap you in and do that. Let's wait for somebody, because it's okay. Oh, here we go. Here's somebody. We are going to go live with Gala Kravchenko. Come on. Ah, fantastic. Hello. Are we in Russia?
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic. Where in Russia are we from?
I'm from Nizhnevartovsk. I don't speak English very well.
That's okay.
This is very cold.
Is it North Siberia? In that
Yes,
area?
yes.
It is.
Yes.
Is it near like Omsk or something, or?
No, Surgut.
Okay. You're up there.
It is so far.
It's cold.
Very cold.
Yeah.
Very, very cold. It is winter.
It's winter already.
No.
Oh boy. And how is the virus there? Is it serious? Is it okay? Do you understand? How is the COVID? You know the COVID virus?
It is very bad. Many people are ill.
They are. So it's bad.
Bad.
It's bad. Interesting. Wow. Well, that's kind of amazing. I'm so excited that we got to talk to Russia. I'm going to come visit you, and we'll knock back some vodka.
What?
You and me go back. We knock back some vodka.
It is very bad.
It's good for fighting the virus, I think. So, listen, thank you so much for reaching out to us. We're going to go to another country right now, but stay on the line. Okay. Bye-bye.
Glad to see you.
Okay. This is so awesome. I told you, I wish we had a mileage program for this. Okay, which country we should go next? I want to travel to either, let's see. Oh, let's go to France. Somebody there in France. It's getting late in Europe. That's the only problem. So I kind of respect that. If somebody's from France, let's go to France. And, oh, there's somebody from Portugal. Let's go to Portugal. I see somebody right here from Portugal. We are going live with Vanda Costa. Fantastico. Here we are. Here we are. Come on, Portugal. Come on, baby. Make it happen. I should play some music while I'm waiting. Oh, we got it. Okay. They're coming in.
Joe.
Hello.
Hello.
Portugal.
Hello from Portugal.
Portugal. How are you?
When a visit to this great country?
I want to visit very soon because I want to go surfing in Portugal.
Yes, Nazaré is fantastic.
Yes. And now, interestingly enough, I get to say this, that I did one of those genetic tests, those like 23andMe genetic tests,
Okay, okay, I know.
and I'm Black Irish, and the Black Irish are related to the Portuguese.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Might have a little Portuguese in me.
You have
You never
nice
know.
genes. You have a nice genes. Okay.
It's an explosive combination, the Irish and the Portuguese, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
One of the countries that I like most it's the Scotland.
Scotland.
Yeah.
That's excellent. My mother is Scottish, and the Scots are good people.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Very good
It's
people.
a fantastic
So
country,
let me ask
and
you
I
this: did
think
you like Dr. Carson Beckett on our show?
yes, like it
You
very
like
much.
him?
Yes.
Ah, yeah. He's a handsome bugger, isn't
Fantastic.
he? Um,
Yeah.
so that's awesome. I'm so glad you're there. And you know what? We're going to go travel to another country right now. It's awesome. I love this. This is the only way we get to travel right now. So this is
Yes,
cool.
it's the only way that we can speak to each other and have conversations with
Yeah. Are
different people.
you guys okay? Is the virus like kind of
Uh,
up and down there?
it's increasing the contagious.
Right.
Every day
Right.
it's more contagious,
Yeah.
but we are managing okay.
Okay. Interesting. Well,
But
listen, it has been a pleasure. I am trying to go to another country right now before I have to get
uh,
off the phone because I like traveling.
it was a pleasure to talk to you, and
And
a
I
big
hope to be
fan
in
of
Portugal
Stargate.
very soon.
Okay, okay, okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm